Hey, brothers and sisters. I wanted to go back to a prior video I did. Guess it's been a while now, December 4th, 2013. So, been a little while now, but what I did is it was actually two videos called The End Time Story. And I just tried to weave the argument for how uh, this end time tribulation period was going to play out up until the midpoint of the tribulation. And it was rather lengthy. It was like an hour and a half. So not a lot of views, but um, a lot of times what I'm doing here is I'm just trying to settle things in my own mind as to how I think it's going to play out. And that's mainly what this was about. And so when I was in there, I had this little part, and we'll just listen to a quick clip. But the argument was something like this. We're going to see potentially the destruction of America, maybe with nuclear weapons from Russia, and there's some popular videos talking about that storyline. Uh, Jonathan Kleck, Steve Quayle, a bunch of people out there talking about that storyline, and um, Russia and Chinese folks invading after the destruction. Well, right now as we sit here today, July 18th, we've got this big dispute now that appears to be mounting over the jet that got shot down over the Ukraine. The U.S. saying that it was Russians or the Russian supported separatists that shot this jet down, and then the Russians saying, that it wasn't. And I don't want to wade too far into that debate, but you could see how that people are already saying that's potentially could escalate into World War III, because tensions are already high on a number of fronts with Russia. And we also got Israel invading the Gaza, which at least at some point could become biblical if Israel turns from just trying to destroy tunnels in the Gaza Strip to actually trying to wipe out Hamas. And then on the other fronts, it would be Hezbollah, uh, Syria, and whatever when you get into Psalm 83. So it feels like we're on the front edge of some biblical events here. And there was some video clip which we'll also watch coming from the UN, where the lady was also talking about how that plane that was shot down was significant, but she tried to tie it to some passages in the Bible. And I think there's a mistake brewing here. And I got into this in this end time story video where I'm worried that, let's just say America is destroyed, nukes everything. Russia comes down to invade Israel in the Ezekiel 38-39 war. It's a huge war, probably, well, the Bible says bodies strewn all over the mountains and hilltops, and likely all through the valley of Megiddo. And He Himself puts that down and controls that. Now, I could imagine the Antichrist coming in right on the heels of that and declaring that he was responsible for saving Israel and the world, and that he's God and he should be worshipped. That's biblical. That the Antichrist tries to declare that he is God, and the how and the why he does that is rather fuzzy. But can you imagine a scenario then where those events happen, destruction of America, um, potentially with a war with Russia and or China, and then Russia trying to come in and invade um, Israel with a supernatural ending to that battle, and then a Messiah-like figure comes on the scene. And what I got into with this end time story is concern of how that could be weaved by the Antichrist to support the theory that for any of those people at that point they're still clinging to their Bible, he could tell them, look, the Bible was fulfilled. I am the real Messiah. Let's just listen to a short part of the clip here, then we'll get into this presentation at the UN. Um, I want to transition to a thought then, if we assume that the story is roughly correct up until this point, because there's a clever story being crafted, and I see it out quite a bit because I'm on YouTube. Other YouTubers have picked up on this thing, which that America is Babylon. And you know, the Jonathan Kleck video we did in the first video in this end time story, he talks about it, but a lot of others have picked up on that and repeat it. And I think it's unbiblical. I think if you look at Jeremiah 50 and 51, even if you look at the use of the daughter of Babylon versus Babylon, I don't think you can put Babylon in America or in New York City. So I did a whole video on this. I just can't buy into it. And I see it could be used as a clever story where if you say America was Babylon and it was destroyed back here, and then you see all these wars in the Middle East, somebody that was still clinging to the Bible story at this point could hear from these enlightened ones, or from this returning, what people think is the Messiah, and have them say, well, sure, the tribulation, Babylon was destroyed and the tribulation is over because of, the big slaughter, supernatural slaughter that happened in this war of Gog and Magog. And so I think the Antichrist comes in right after God himself puts down this war of Gog and Magog, because then he can set himself up as the God that did that. People are looking for the aliens to come and save us from us killing ourselves with nuclear war. Well, that story's been out there for a long time, and that's exactly what this Antichrist could do. If there's a supernatural put down of this mega war against Israel, of course people will be super gracious for that supernatural event, and then boom, in comes this Messiah figure and says that he, that was from God and God is him. And he'll have all sorts of signs and wonders, including, okay, so the point of that last clip then is that if we hype up too much that we're in the tribulation, or actual tribulation events are being fulfilled now, and then there really is a destruction, let's say, of America, and or the war of Gog and Magog happens, it would be easy to declare that that was the Battle of Armageddon as promised by the Bible, and that the tribulation is over literally before it began. And so the Antichrist could then use that to demonstrate how he is the real Messiah, because the Messiah returns at the end of Armageddon, and everybody knows it. Everybody knows the storyline, not everybody believes it. So let's just listen to hear what happened in the UN, and how, again, it could be feeding into this, what I'd say is a false scenario.
I thank the representative of Argentina for her statement. I give now the floor to the representative of Nigeria. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. First, I want to say to our colleagues whose citizens were involved, please, we convey our deepest condolences to your families, to your citizens, and to your government. Mr. President, yesterday at noon, the world watched in horror at the downing of a Malaysian jetliner. What happened yesterday seemed like an apocalyptic end of the world. I think Samantha described it somehow. This spectacle is graphically described in the book of Revelation as, and I quote, "A hail of fire mixed with blood fell upon the earth. The sun and the air were darkened," end quote. That was what I saw yesterday.
Okay. Well, hopefully you can see what I was. Now, there's tons of wonderful, dedicated Christians in Nigeria. So this has nothing to do with that. It just, there's so many people that are talking about current day events as being potentially fulfillment of Bible prophecy in the tribulation period that is just feeding into this scenario that definitely could be coming, which is, the apocalypse basically happened, let's say at the War of Gog and Magog, and that the Antichrist can use that to demonstrate that the tribulation is over and that he's the real Antichrist for any of those people that are still clinging to their Bible. uh, After the rapture is over, we suspect that there's going to be millions that recognize what happened and they come to Christ. And so um, I'm worried that would be a very powerful uh, storyline to be told at that point. And it seems like, some of this is feeding into setting the stage for that. So, uh, you can just tell from where we're at here that we must be getting close. The UN is quoting the Bible, which is about as big of a stretch as you can imagine. People at the UN are, and I'm surprised we're still here, to be honest. As a church, seems like we're so close to all this happening with Israel invading the Gaza, and also, if you have not given your heart to the Lord, I just, I beg you right now to recognize that you're a sinner and know that Jesus died on the cross and rose again to cleanse you from those sins. He's going to open the pathway to heaven. You'd be part of the rapture, and you can just see it. This isn't a bunch of Bible nuts here worried about the end times. These are speeches at the UN. We had other videos in the past. Benjamin Netanyahu commenting or quoting Amos 9 in front of the UN General Assembly. This is, you know, at the top of the political ranks in the world, people talking about biblical events um, as occurring. And so it's not nutty, it's not off the wall. It's time to commit your life to Christ. We're this close to the scenario, being launched in terms of the end time scenario. And you can see, just look at the news media, how things are twisted. And so the deception is going to be severe once the church is gone. So give your life to the Lord. And if you have any questions, please just do the private message here on YouTube. I'd be more than happy to get into a discussion with you. Thanks for watching, Saints.